Yes, I know what you're thinking. I am, in fact, a chubby high school kid that's trying to tell you guys something about life. I think it's kind of backwards as well. Now, one of the most important things that I've found in my entire life is securing some form of way to let everyone in the world know, and more importantly, to let yourself know who you are. Securing an outlet. And I know when I say an outlet, I sound like either the parent of an unruly teenager with too much time on their hands, or the unruly teenager with too much time on his hands. However, it is very important. I think the term outlet has been kind of, not demonized, but kind of trivialized over the years as just a way for teenagers to figure out a way for woodworking to keep them out of drugs. But I think the term outlet is a lot more important than that. Finding an outlet is essentially finding a way for you to channel your inner self to the outside world. For example, in 2014, I started to fall in love with slam poetry. And since I've begun to fall in love with it, my life has made a great turn for the better. I'm more focused. I feel better a lot. Finding that way to just channel yourself is incredibly important. And here's how I really got into it. I was sitting in an old white halfway rundown pickup truck outside my grandpa's coffee shop back in around, I want to say about 2012. And I had very recently downloaded one of those semi-legal MP3 YouTube downloading apps. And I had just been downloading a lot of what I'd been listening to at the time, which was just a lot of classic rock, You Shook Me All Night Long, that kind of thing. And while I was scrolling through the list of recommended videos, I saw one video titled Pale Boy Raps Fast by George Watsky. And I thought that was hilarious. So I downloaded it immediately and went in expecting to see some dorky white dude just trying his best. And that's exactly what I found, except for the fact that when I finally started to listen to it and pay attention to the lyrics, they were really kind of good. They were unlike anything I'd ever heard before. Rap to me back then was kind of a hood thing, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't exactly accessible to everyone. And the second I heard that, I started realizing that rap was just a form of music like any other. And after I heard that, I promptly memorized every lyric to it, and I just loved it, played it on repeat, wouldn't stop. I'm sure I got annoying. After that, I started to look into other things by George Watsky, and I found out that not only had he written that, but in the time since he'd written that, he had gone on to make a few studio albums. He had performed on Def Jam comedy, like in the past, and I fell in love. I started memorizing every Watsky song I could ever find in the entire world, and I just play them on repeat all the time. And after that, after I had pretty much not gotten bored, but known everything there was to know about him, I figured that I would delve deeper into the genre itself. And what I've learned about rap is that it's just poetry, but faster with a beat. And so once I figured that out, I started to go back into the old Def Jam comedy lineups and things like that. And from there, I found out about all these wonderful poets called like Dalek Brathwaite and George Watsky, of course, but when he was a tiny, tiny boy. And then there was Bo Sia as well, an amazing poet that I've just loved for a long time. And I started to draw inspiration from these guys. And in around 2014, I just got this sudden urge to start writing. And I wrote this piece that I will perform for you. It is about 30 seconds long. I was rather young. It's not profound. But I will be performing it right about now. And it is titled, I'm So Cool, So being capitalized. Here it is. I'm so cool. I'm cooler than the coolest guy in line at the airport Cinnabon. I'm so cool. I know at least 85% of Bohemian Rhapsody on my best day. Always screw up one part. I'm so sick, I can stay upright on a skateboard for like 15 seconds. I flow so well, I can rap almost as fast as anyone I've heard. I'm so fly, I can write a poem based on just how cool I am. It was short. In the piece, I used the self-deprecating kind of style of Bo Sia. Bo Sia is an amazing poet. He used to go on 15-minute tangents about how awesome he made his toast that morning. And I drew a lot of inspiration from people like him. So, of course, after that, I started to look into poetry a little bit, but there's always this stigma behind poetry. Like, I'm sure for a lot of you, when you hear poetry, you probably think of old guys in the 1600s wearing green Robin Hood outfits, you know what I mean? So when I finally got past all that, thanks to Michaela Bradford over here, she has been active in our school's poetry for a while, and it really got me thinking about certain things and why I should get back into writing after the totally rad, awesome poem that I just read you guys. After that, I started trying a little more in my English classes, and I really began to fall in love with literature in general. For a long time, I wasn't quite sure where I laid in the spectrum. Like I was just this big ball of writing energy, and I had no idea how to channel it or do anything. So I have a lot of weird scribbles that just don't mean anything at all. And then eventually I came to a realization that I should start writing more serious pieces. And when I figured that out, my poetry began to kind of take a different form. Earlier last year, I was in a Storywise competition, thanks to Dan Inger, and he proposed that the entirety of Athens County write a poem about Athens County, and anyone could submit it. And I won second place in that competition with a piece that I wrote about the homeless issue. And I don't have it with me, so I won't be performing that one. But doing that really opened my eyes to a lot of other things. And after that, I was rather bored in one of Baloo's classes, Baloo being my English teacher. He's been amazing. He asked us to do a paper in which we were writing about ourselves. And in that paper, I could not think of anything else, so I started writing poetry, because nowadays that's where my brain defaults. And I wrote another poem. This one is marginally longer, called The First Draft of a Love Song I'll Never Write. We were sitting in my room, a constant flow of thoughtful lyrics pouring out into the speaker of my crappy iPhone 7. We stared at the ceiling with the fan blowing over us as if to tell us that there will be a wind and turbulence, but in the end everything returns to the calm. The calm, choppy hum of the old fan seems to match her heartbeat. She became the scene. I need water, but to move would be to stick a knife in the back of the promise that I made to you that I would never let go again. With my hand on your stomach and my heart on yours, I disappear. I sink down into those brown eyes as my soul escapes my body, and myself from 5 years ago gives me a big high five. We lay there breathing heavily in an embrace that is tighter than superglue, locked in a moment that seals itself in my brain like a bank vault. In the moment that you roll over to kiss my nose, I swear to whatever gods are listening that I heard the popping of fireworks coming out of the deepest, darkest depths of my core, lighting a fire that is yet to go out, an inferno that burned down my inhibitions and cleared away the brush, barring access to my soul. She let me in as well. Without a single word, sonnets were being sung, a string quartet playing love songs in the dead silence. A drum line taps to the beat of her heart. Seal is singing back up, and if you don't understand what I mean, I hope that someday you will. I have pins and needles in every limb that I can still feel, but I don't mind. If I were to move, she'd wake up, only to realize that she had to be home an hour ago. We were sitting in my room, but to me, it was heaven. Nowadays, I have been trying to write more, been getting more in touch with my artistic side. And then I've gotten in contact with some of my favorite artists. They know me by name now because of how much I bug them on Twitter. I've reviewed other people's work. I've had my work reviewed in a lot of different places. I never thought I'd get the opportunity to have it reviewed. I have a much better life now, and that's why it is so important for you guys to figure out some way to channel everything that you are into a hobby or a job or just something that you believe in. Thank you.